So I guess it's official now. There can't be any doubt about it, right? It goes without saying, it's obvious. Just like we all accept that the sun is rising from the east, we are running out of petrol and Johnny Depp can't make any good movies lately, Scuderia Ferrari is cursed. Like full Prince from Beauty and the Beast cursed. In fact, I think it's worth asking, how many black cats are in Maranello these days? Does the Ferrari factory have a floor made entirely out of mirrors that keep breaking each day? These are all important questions now and we deserve answers. In other news, Carlos Sainz raced his final race for Toro Rosso. From Austin onwards, he will race alongside Hülkenberg at Renault. Good. Looking forward to see this pairing at work. As for Julian Palmer, who cares about Palmer? Not even Sauber. I'm Chip from the Digital Grandstand and welcome to this latest edition of Beyond the Finish Line. So yeah, Ferrari. Just before lights out, Sebastian Vettel's car developed a spark plug issue that couldn't be fixed in time. He started the race well enough, defending his hard-fought P2 from quali, but by the start of lap 2, he was running in P6. Max Verstappen, Esteban Ocon, Daniel Ricciardo, Valtteri Bottas all got past him in quick succession, while Vettel and the Ferrari pit wall were trying to figure out what to do. Nothing was the answer, and Seb retired at the end of the 4th lap. And where was Kimi Raikkonen in all this? Well, he had the absolute privilege of starting P10 after he had to change his gearbox ahead of time. Just to make things that little bit more awful for himself and the team, Kimi had a close to dreadful quali session. To be fair, he did quite an honorable job during the race, but how can anyone at Ferrari take any heart from a day like this? One driver started 10th and got up to P5, overtaking only second tier cars, while the other driver had to retire early on with technical freaking issues. Anyway, Lewis Hamilton had something close to a perfect weekend. Pole on Saturday, great start, controlled pace up front, his title rival dropping off, and the matured, calculated win. The only blip in his whole race weekend was the way his car behaves in traffic. Due to a small but fundamental design flaw, the Mercedes W08 struggles in the wake of the car in front. Usually this is not a problem, because the Mercs are quite used to qualify at the front. But it can get difficult in certain scenarios, like when lapping backmarkers. And it gets extremely tense when you have a young, hungry Max Verstappen on your tail, as was the case this Sunday. Verstappen had another very good weekend. Although I was expecting Red Bull to be much closer to the Mercs, the reality is that Max and Daniel lack top-end speed. Yes, they can hold their own against anyone in the corners, but on the straights, not so much. Having started P4, Verstappen got feisty into turn 1 and got ahead of his teammate. A little bit later, he was past Vettel and had Hamilton in his sights. Could he get past? Could Max, after his horrid first half of the season, get 2 wins in a row? Nope. Hamilton calmly pulled out of DRS range early on and adjusted his pace to just keep out of any threat. Obviously, Red Bull tried a very opportunistic undercut, pitting Max on lap 21. Despite his advantage at the time, Lewis pitted the next lap, and due to a wonky in-lap and a ferociously aggressive out-lap by Max, Hamilton emerged only 2 seconds in front of the Dutchman. Close, but not close enough. Once again, Lewis built the gap up to about 4 seconds, but he soon had a bit of an issue. The track temperature dropped, and his rear tires were not in the right operating window anymore. Sensing an opportunity, Max tried to close the gap, but he only managed to wear out his own tires way too soon. It was all going Lewis's way, but then he started to encounter backmarkers. I can only imagine the frustration of Verstappen and the Red Bull team when they saw the gap out front drop from 4 seconds to less than 2 yet again. But they still couldn't overtake the Mercedes power unit, keeping Lewis well ahead on the straights. And that's how the race ended, in fact, with Lewis taking the win and Max coming home only 1.2 seconds behind. Daniel Ricciardo finished in P3 after losing 2 places at the start to his teammate and a lightning start from Esteban Ocon. He dully repassed the Frenchman on the 11th lap, but by this point Lewis and Max were long gone. The only other highlight of his race was that little bit of a scare when Lance Stroll's suspension gave way and almost collected the Aussie when he rejoined the track. Behind the podium finishers, Valtteri Bottas had quite a lonely race. Hit with a gearbox penalty just like Kimi, he started P6 and made easy work of Ocon, while Vettel's retirement moved him up to P4. Oh, one more thing about Kimi. He was oh so close to ruin Max's race. Knowing fully well he would start down the order a bit, Ferrari had him do a longer soft tire first stint. When Verstappen made his pit stop, he just emerged in front of Kimi, salvaging his race by not having to lap behind the Ferrari. Of the other teams, Force India had one of their all-time better races, with Ocon finishing in P6 and Perez in P7. The Frenchman had a great first half of the race, dicing for a while with the likes of Ricciardo and Bottas. Perez followed Bottas close early on, and after the pit stops he had slightly better pace than his teammate. However, with all their clashes this season, the team rightfully forbid any battle between the two at the moment. Behind the Pink Panthers, surprise surprise, Haas managed to score double points for only the second time this season. Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean had an almost race-long battle with Massa and Hülkenberg. Due to a small error by the Brazilian, both Haas drivers overtook him in the space of one corner, leaving Massa to collect the final point for P10. But the two heroes of this race, as far as I'm concerned, are Fernando Alonso and Nico Hülkenberg. The Spaniard started stone dead last after the latest wave of Honda-related engine penalties. However, he was running close to Massa in the final laps, and who knows, with a little bit more time he might have scored a point in Japan. Hülkenberg, meanwhile, achieved something I think is truly remarkable. Rivaled the bad luck of Ferrari. Starting on the alternative super soft strategy, he had a monstrous opening stint, and after his pit stop was running close to the Haas drivers and Massa. But the DRS flap on the rear wing decided it was all going way too good for the Hulk and forced him to retire on the 41st lap. The other retirements from this race were Marcus Ericsson, who I think forgot how to race a Formula 1 car this Sunday, Lance Stroll with that suspension wheel thing failure, the aforementioned Vettel, and Carlos Sainz. My driver of the Formula 1 Japanese weekend is undoubtedly Fernando Alonso for that spirited drive from 20th to 11th at the flag. My rating for this race is 7 out of 10. Thank you ever so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts of this Grand Prix and who was your driver of the weekend. If you've enjoyed this video, like and share it. If you're new around here, please do subscribe for more F1 related content. I've been Chip from the Digital Grandstand. You can chat to me on Twitter at chip_DGS, and I'll see you very soon.